You and Chris are going to be in here talking about God knows what.
Howdy. What's going on, good people?
What's up?
What's going on? Welcome to the podcast. We've got fun and games. What's going on, my brother?
What's happening, Butch?
Man, you know, I'm just glad to be here. I am just glad to be here. It is a lovely night for a podcast.
It is. It is. It's been fast and furious, me getting here, but I finally made it.
Okay, and I want to spend some time because, you know, part of the perks of getting to do this is you get to brag on your children every once in a while. So tell me why you're late getting to the show tonight.
Well, it was my daughter's high school. She goes to Bigelow, Arkansas High School. It was their athletic awards banquet, and she plays softball, and she's a junior this year, and she made all conference.
That is fantastic, man.
Yeah, I was
so
very,
cool.
very proud. She works hard, and she loves the sport. So it was worth it, but good Lord, getting here from across the river was crazy.
Crazy. Folks, a little housekeeping that I want to tell you about what's new.
I don't do windows.
Don't do windows?
I don't do windows.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, so here's what's going on. This is new. I don't even think you know about this. I haven't sprung this on you yet. Folks, if you go to retroshow.net, which, by the way, is our website that we have available, all of our podcast locations out there that you can join the podcast. We also now have a producers club.
What?
Yeah, I know. So if you go to retroshow.net and you look at the menu up there, Chris, you'll see support the podcast.
Ooh.
Yeah, pretty cool, man. And folks, I just want to ask, have you ever wanted to be a producer? Like maybe even put it on your resume. Maybe on a business card. Well, for a mere $3 a week. No, Chris, $3 a month. Chris, they'll never miss it. $3 a month, they can be a part of our producers club. Now, for $3 measly bucks that you'll never miss, by the way, you, my friend, can be a show producer. And what's that mean?
You can't even buy a cup of coffee at Starbucks.
Can't.
I wouldn't buy from Starbucks anyway, but any coffee place for $3.
Exactly, because I can just spell my name and just flush $5 down the toilet and make my own coffee. So here's the deal, folks. Dr. Pepper Zero, you'll be helping to keep us in that, and keep that Dr. Pepper Zero supply, topped off. But Chris, I forgot the best part. I haven't sprung this yet on you either. The first 30 people who sign up to support the podcast for $3 a month will receive a shout out on each and every podcast we produce.
Goodness gracious!
We will thank you by name, and we may even have them call in and participate in the podcast. I'm telling you, man, it's a good deal. So listen, guys, just head to retroshow.net and click on support the podcast. Also, with me just going ahead and telling you about all the website stuff that's going on, if you go to our website at retroshow.net, I can't say that enough because I have to beat that URL into people's heads. We have a listen here section. And what that is it gives you all the list of locations that you can subscribe to this podcast. So let's say your buddy's playing this in the vehicle while you're going somewhere and you're going, hey man, I'd like to subscribe to that. Well, all you got to do is go to retroshow.net and then you can.
And they would say, let me tell you how to be a producer.
Yes. It's money well spent, people. You'll never miss the $3 a month. So here we go, folks. We are actually, let me go ahead and give them the topic for today that you and I talked about. And it is going to be our top 5 John Wayne movies. I think John Wayne was a big part of our growing up.
You know, I had this discussion with a buddy of mine this weekend. We were fishing, and he hates John Wayne, and I don't get it.
Why do you fish with him then?
Well, he likes Clint Eastwood, so...
I don't know, man, still.
Yeah, I told him, I said, if everybody in America acted like John Wayne, we wouldn't have any problems whatsoever. Zero problems.
None at all.
But he just said his dad beat him to death with it when he was a kid. So
well, that's just That's
My
so
dad
sad.
beat me to death with it, but it took. So
Yeah, exactly.
I love John Wayne.
Yeah, I do
movies.
too. John Wayne movies were a big part of my growing up. Only thing is Dad also, watched a lot of John Wayne movies, but the ones that I came to like were not necessarily ones that he liked.
Me too. Me too.
And so we'll be getting into that in just a little bit. So anyway, man, what else has been going on?
That's it. I went fishing last weekend.
Yeah, how'd you do?
We actually, I mean, I know it's a fish story, but me and a buddy, I had planned on taking a guy and his son fishing. Love his son to death. George, you are an awesome kid, and you're going to be a hell of a fisherman one day. You're already a hell of a fisherman, but you're even going to be better than me, better than Rachel for sure.
Mike Racher, by the way, has listened to this podcast and says he loves it.
Yeah.
So
Well, he gets a shout out because
he gets a shout out.
Friday afternoon, we decided we were going to put in, and it was threatening rain, and I was like, dude, we just don't need to get too far from the ramp. We went right across the river from the ramp, started floating. I trout fish, by the way, on the world renowned White River in Arkansas. And we boated 40 fish in an hour and 45 minutes between the two of us.
That is amazing.
And then the next day, when George and his dad, Matt Coop.
Coop.
Shout out to Coop. He is a retired Marine
A lot
colonel.
of respect for Matt Cooper.
Yep. And dude, I love that guy. He's awesome.
Now, let's not let him know that we said that because.
Well, I mean, he's the one that doesn't like John Wayne.
What?
Yeah, but he likes Clint Eastwood. So.
Matt. Dude. Okay, I take back everything I said. Take back everything.
But as a boat Saturday,
Yeah.
we boated 70 plus.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we had a great day.
Yeah.
Great day.
Okay.
But that's it. That's pretty much. And then, of course, Mother's Day.
Mother's Day.
Yeah.
So here was the funny thing. Debbie had to mess with the boys a little bit. Okay, so you think the boys went out and got the present? No. Debbie and I went out together, and she picked out what she wanted. Okay, so we had it wrapped, and so she came in, and she's messing with her. So did you boys pick this present out? And they're like, just being quiet. Well, Dad helped, It was great. She had them dancing on a string there, and then I finally, let them know, hey, she's been playing you the whole time.
I did whatever my wife wanted to do on Sunday. She let me go fishing. So whatever she wanted, we went and got my mom some flowers.
Excellent.
Like potted flowers for her to put out on her porch, and then took dinner.
All right.
So I had a good day.
Good day. Excellent. So, folks, welcome once again to the podcast. We're glad to have you here, and we're going to be back in just a moment. All right, folks, we're back, and we're ready to get into this. The top 5 John Wayne movies. Now, Chris and I decided talking about this that we think now that we're just not going to. I'm just not going to react and say that. Oh, that's on my list too. We're just going to go ahead and we're going to give our 5, and by popular vote, I think Chris gets to go first.
Who voted? You?
Yeah.
My number 5 is Rio Lobo.
Oh, good one.
Rio Lobo. He was a veteran from the Civil War, and one of his sergeants killed a guy and took some stuff, and he's trying to find him afterwards, and hooks up with some Confederate veterans, and they go to a town, man.
Yeah.
It's classic
Jack
John
Elam's
Wayne.
in that too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Love Jack Elam in those movies. You know my favorite role that he did? You ever watch a movie called Support Your Local Sheriff?
Yes.
I love that movie. It's one of those movies that if I'm flicking through and it's on, I just stop.
Yeah.
But he had a great, and that was very much a comedy. As much as it was a Western, it was probably more a comedy, and he was hilarious in that.
So am I just doing my whole list?
Yeah.
Okay.
So give me your number 4.
Rio Bravo.
Rio. So 2 Rios.
2 Rios at
In
the
a row.
bottom. But that dude, man, you got Dean Martin
Yep.
and Ricky Nelson, and they have a duet in there that's incredible. And you have a very young Angie Dickinson, and let me tell you something, she was smoking. She was smoking her entire career, but she was really, really awesome in that movie.
Yeah.
He plays Chance, the sheriff, and then you got Stumpy, the
Stumpy.
jailer, who's cantankerous, and I mean, it was early '60s movie. But
Was that Walter Brennan that did Stumpy in that? Who? Or
no,
do you
I don't
remember?
remember what his name was. He was an older guy.
Yeah.
I don't know, but he had the double barrel shotgun in there.
well, Sheriff, he's going to have to.
So yeah, I love Rio Bravo for the music. Dean Martin's voice incredible, and of course Ricky Nelson was
Okay,
awesome
so one
too.
of those things. Rabbit, Dean Martin. I used to watch him on the Celebrity Roast in
Yep.
the 70s with my dad. And if you go back and watch those now, hilarious.
Dude, he was incredibly hilarious, and like the scene of him and oh crap, I can't believe I can't remember the black guy
In what?
in Cannonball Run. I mean, he was one of the Rat Pack.
Sammy Davis Jr.
Sammy Davis Jr. Yeah, him and Dean Martin, and they're just Dean Martin's drunk the entire time.
Yeah.
And he tells Dean Martin, Sammy James says, "We got a secret weapon. God is our co-pilot." And they're driving a Ferrari, and Dean Martin slaps him in the head and says, Remember our car? 2 seats. Where's he going to sit?
Yeah.
Where? I mean, it's classic.
All right, what's your number 3, man?
Number 3 for me, the only John Wayne movie I got to see in the theater, The Shootist.
The Shootist. With Little Opie Cunningham.
Little Open Cunningham, yep.
Yeah.
And the classic, John Wayne's dying of cancer. Or
In real life.
In his real life, and his character,
And in the
is
character,
dying
yeah.
of cancer. And he's a famous gunfighter. And he goes to a town, and he ends up inviting all the gunfighters in town to shoot it out at the end, and it's incredible. It was one of his best films, not my favorite, and I'm gonna upset a lot of John Wayne fans out there. And my 2 and my 1 are not gonna be their 2 and 1, and I get it, but it is what it is for me.
Yeah.
So number 2.
Number 2.
Is a Western comedy. McClintock, absolutely. I will watch this movie. I will turn it on.
Oh, Macklin!
Big party. We have big fun. Yeah, classic. If you haven't seen it, he had one of his.
Yvonne DiCarlo, Jerry Van Dyke, Patrick Wayne,
Yep.
and Maureen O'Hara, who was with him in so many of his movies, of his best movies.
That is one of the most beautiful redheads I have ever seen.
Oh, she was stunning. She was stunning.
Very, very beautiful.
Yeah.
And then, of course, number 1 for me always has been and always will be Big Jake.
Big Jake.
Big Jake, he
Your fault, my fault, nobody's fault.
I'm going to blow your head off.
Yeah, that's a great movie. Yes, yeah, I remember watching that with Dad.
Have you ever been to Nacogdoches?
You ever been to Nacogdoches? Yeah. Those are all good, solid choices, man.
Yep.
They really are. Now, I'm going to come back in just a moment. And tell
Again,
you-
Maureen O'Hara was the
Oh,
co-star.
yes. And once again, she was mad at him in the movie, which
Yep.
seems to be a common theme in most ones that she's in with him. Right now, folks, I want to take a pause a little bit before I jump in with my top 5. And then Chris and I are also going to bounce our Almost Made It movies, too.
All right.
But right now, I did mention earlier about where to listen to the podcast. I'm going to go ahead and give you a partial list right now. Spotify. If you have iTunes, Google Podcast, Audible, Amazon Music, Stitcher, iHeart, and CastBox are all places that you can subscribe to our podcast. Basically, wherever you get your podcast, you can jump on there and subscribe to us. And if you would rate and review us, it would mean a lot. I talked earlier about supporting the podcast. The best way you guys can do that is to listen and then tell other folks about it. To share the love, man. Share the love.
We're going back to the 60s. It's the summer of love.
Far out, man. Oh, okay, so my 5 has exactly 2 that you mentioned. So that tells you how many good. This, like when we did a ranking the top rock albums of '81. and Embarrassment of Riches. It was hard to pick a top five out of it because I love a lot of those movies.
John Wayne's career, if you go back and look at it, he started
in the 30s.
No, he started in the 20s.
Oh, that's true.
He was like 19 years old, and a lot of his first things that he had, he wasn't even credited for. So, yeah, there's a ton of movies. And there's a ton of really, really good John Wayne movies. I'm just telling you ones that will stop me in my tracks, and I'll start watching.
You got to start watching them right then. Okay, so my number 5, True Grit.
Yeah, great flick.
Okay, that was my introduction to Rooster Cogburn.
Yeah,
and it's pretty big talk for a one-eyed fat man. That
Fill
was
your hands, you son of a. Never mind.
Yeah,
I won't make you cut that.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite lines is, "I mean to kill you in 1 minute, Ned, or see you hanged in Fort Smith at Judge Parker's convenience. Which'll it be?"
Yeah, Judge Parker, for all you kids out there that don't know, was a real life judge in Fort Smith, and he was known as the hanging judge.
Yeah, for a reason.
Yep.
But yeah, great movie. Glenn Campbell also in that movie. Which, by the way, I'm going to chase a rabbit right here. Maybe one of the best guitar players I've ever seen live.
I never saw Glenn Campbell, but I mean, as far as hee-haw, yes.
No, I mean, to see this guy play, and I think maybe when Debbie and I saw him, I think maybe he had started to already have some dementia. But man, this guy, when you put a guitar in his hand,
UCA,
he could just. No, we were actually in Branson. Oh, wow. And went up there just kind of on a spur of the moment weekend.
Redneck Vegas,
baby. Redneck Vegas. And saw that he was playing that night, and you kind of in a limited engagement. So
sure.
We went to the Andy Williams Moon River Theater, and had to and I put up with Andy Williams so I could watch Glenn Campbell.
Moon River,
wider than a
Thank
mile.
You, Doc.
Okay. Now, before I get to the next thing on my list, that reminds me, guys, my second job was working at a little AM radio station here in town. And they played what I thought was music for old people, but if you look at the demographic then, it was like people in their 40s. Really old, but to, a guy at 16. And so it was all like Moon River and all those kind of songs. And so I would make up alternate lyrics to things like,
dude, we made up alternate
we did all the time.
Things.
But like Johnny Mathis, when Johnny would be singing, when Sonny gets blue, I'd be going, when Sonny sniffs glue, her eyes get red and bulgy, she starts seeing purple unicorns, just weird stuff off the top. But
welcome to our childhood.
Yes. My number 4 on my top 5 John Wayne movies, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
That's a movie I'm ashamed to say that I've never sat down and watched all the way through.
It's a John Ford directed movie, which a lot of my favorite John Wayne movies are John Ford directed, and it had him and Jimmy Stewart and Lee Marvin as the bad guy. And so I would highly recommend that. That is actually not known as a great, only as a great Western, but as a great movie. So yes, definitely that is one to see. My number 3, well, we talked about Big Jake.
Wow, number 3, come on.
Patrick Wayne, Powers Booth as the bad guy, who was a great bad guy in this, by the way. Just his deadpan delivery of stuff.
Want some peaches? No, hurts my teeth.
Yeah. Well, mister, that just scares me to death. So,
you know what? As a kid, man, you know what really freaked me out about that was the big fat guy with the machete.
Yeah.
And the music plays a huge part in movies. Y'all all know that. And and they, blah, 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 and he's over there swinging the machete, killing somebody.
Yeah.
So,
it's number 2. You'll recognize this one, McClintock. Also, that was on your list. I love that movie. I love that movie. Co-starred Maureen O'Hara, which we already talked about. Yvonne DiCarlo.
A very young, what's her name?
Yvonne DiCarlo.
No. His daughter.
Oh, Stephanie Powers.
Stephanie Powers. She was beautiful too as a young lady. She was beautiful as an older lady, but she was really
I was about
pretty.
to say, Yvonne DiCarlo was probably in her 40s when she did that one.
She was hot.
But still younger than I am now, But yeah, I mean, if you haven't seen McClintock, it is It's a very good movie. It's basically John Wayne plays a cattle baron. His wife has been estranged from him for years, but they still love each other. And I mean, it's just so well acted, and it's just well written. And he has to do with inept politicians. He has to advocate for the local Comanche tribe. He has people that are moving in to farm in an area where they're not supposed to be able to farm. And it's just a good movie, and it's got some very comedic parts in there that are just absolutely fantastic.
Who was Patrick Wayne's mom in that? Who was that?
That was Yvonne DeCarlo.
She's very pretty.
Yeah,
too.
she was Lily Munster.
Oh, wow. I didn't even put that together. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow.
But if you look at it, you go, oh, yeah.
Yeah, I do. I will. I do now.
Yeah.
I mean, I can picture her in my head now. I've seen that movie 1,000 times.
1,000 times.
You know, and the funny thing is, every time I'd watch it, I go, where do I know her from?
Yeah.
You know, where do I know her from? But anyway.
Yep. My number one movie, also a John Ford directed thing, and the non-Western on the list, is The Quiet Man.
I have seen that. It's really good.
I love The Quiet Man. I love the way it's shot. I love the fact that they actually went to this small village in Ireland, and true story, the place where they picked to shoot, I believe it was in the 50s, didn't have electricity yet. They actually had to get electricity run to the town so they could do the movie.
That's how much money these people have.
Yeah, that's how much money they had. But I love the look of it. John Ford has, and you can see it in his Westerns too, but he had a way of framing things almost like paintings. Mm-hmm. And especially outdoor scenes. And he could just do that with all of his movies he did. Victor McLaughlin in that movie, who played Squire... I can't think of his nice name. Danaher. He plays Maureen O'Hara's brother in this movie, and he is just great in this role. And the last 15 minutes is a fight scene between him and John Wayne that literally goes through the entire town. And you would think, man, 15 minutes for it. No, trust me, it works, and it's hilarious. And so, yeah, that's my number one. I've always had a soft spot for The Quiet Man. Now, that one wouldn't have been my dad's growing up favorite. I think he really liked True Grit and McClintock, maybe Sons of Katie Elder.
Yeah, I mean, those are all memorable.
Yeah.
And but you know, there's a lot. When you go start looking at his list of movies, and I had my, as soon as Butch told me the topic, I'm like, I got my 5. That ain't no big deal. But you start researching his career, he had a lot of really, really good movies, and non-Western. Mm-hmm. Brannigan, yeah, McHugh.
Yep,
both of those are cop movies. Really, really good.
He did some cop movies in the mid-'70s. He sure did. Yep. Brannigan was one that I thought of. The Green Berets.
It's if you
Sands
watch it today, if you watch the Green Berets today, it is so bad, special effects and stuff like that.
Right.
But still, man, I'll watch it. It's one of those that I'll stop and I'll watch no matter what, because there's a lot of great scenes in that movie with John Wayne.
Okay, any that didn't make your top 5 that you can think of?
The ones I just mentioned.
The ones you just mentioned.
McHugh, Brannigan, the Flying Tigers, the Green Berets, True Grit, Rooster Cogburn and the Lady.
Yeah.
With Katharine Hepburn.
Right, which is a sequel to True Grit.
To True Grit.
Right.
And you know what I was going to say was, a while ago when you mentioned True Grit and kind of went away, they did a remake of True Grit with, oh crap, I don't know what, Jeff Bridges?
Yeah.
Jeff Bridges. Yeah. And I was so pissed off. I'm like, why are you redoing a classic? I mean, dude, it's John Wayne. But he pulled it off. Well, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Here's I think that was a 2013. That was more true to the original book.
Yeah.
That was based on, and the character and everything, because there's things that didn't happen in the John Wayne True Grit, like the girl in the John Wayne, she gets bit by the rattlesnake.
Right.
Well, she pulls through. She doesn't look. Right. In the book, she loses her arm. Yeah.
And the cool thing about it was, at the end of that movie, she goes looking for Rooster Cogburn, because he was supposed to be touring with a Wild West show.
Right.
And it was Cole Younger and somebody else. I can't remember who it was that she went up and talked to. And of course, she didn't have an arm, and she was looking for him, and he had passed. And Cole Younger doesn't stand up. And he said, "This is Cole Younger, and keep your seat. trash.
Oh, wow, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it was really, really, really good.
It was a good movie. It really was. How the West Was Won didn't make my list, but it's still way up there. Sons of Katie Elder.
The War Wagon.
The War Wagon, also very good. The Shootist, which made your top 5, did not quite make mine. Rio Bravo. The Searchers, which to me was such a sad movie.
Well, you got...
that ended. But I'll tell you the one that I love the movie, but it makes me mad every time I watch it. And it's the reason I don't like Bruce Dern today.
The Cowboys.
It's the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Because he shot him in the back.
It was a really good movie, and that's a really good John Wayne line in there. I may be old and I may be tired, but on my worst day, I'll beat the hell out of you.
Yeah.
Tells Bruce Dern that.
Yeah. And it's just why he had to shoot him in the back.
Yeah.
Bruce Dern in an interview said, he said, I was hated for years
He's
after
still
that.
hated.
For that.
Just that, but he always plays a scumbag.
Yeah.
I mean, like Digstown, that's one of my favorite movies. He plays the guy that owns the town, basically. And, he always plays that same role.
Yeah, that kind of skeezy guy. But well, anyway, man, I just love John Wayne movies, man. My dad, when he got Dish Network, I think the reason he got Dish Network is he found out there was a Western channel on there.
Yep.
And it stayed on the Western channel, like, all the time.
Your dad was a big influence in my life. I know you know that, but a lot of people out there don't know that. Doc was a character. He was a retired veterinarian, and is he full-blooded?
Actually, okay, so here's the big family secret that came out. We had the DNA test done. Dude, we don't have any Native American.
Are you kidding me?
Not a bit. My dad grew up thinking, like I think most people did.
He grew up in Oklahoma, by the way.
In Oklahoma, that they were part Cherokee. And it turns out we had the test done, and there's not a bit of Native American blood.
Wow.
I know. Now, he would have said, well, they're lying, because that's my dad.
Don't give a damn what you say, sis.
Yeah, exactly. It's a true story. That's what he would have said. But yeah, that's hilarious.
He was a great guy, and
thanks, man.
I would go over and visit with him.
Yep.
Even when Butch wasn't around. He'd sit out there. He worked on firearms, and I'd sit out there and talk to him while he worked on firearms. And
Dad
learned a lot.
Dad couldn't practice anymore, so he became a gunsmith, and he did that for years and years. I don't know if he ever made a lot of money at it. He just liked doing it.
He did like doing it.
Yeah.
And I'd go to the gun shows and see him. And I know I told you this story, but I ran into him and your mom at a gun show one time. And I asked him how they were doing. And it was like 16 candles, the two grandparents. Oh. My rheumatism. Oh, my leg, my knee's hurting. And then it was both. I couldn't help it. I started snickering.
I had a term for that. I called it the organ recital because they were reciting through every organ that they had and whether it was working or not. So yes, I'm well acquainted with the organ recital. But yeah, I miss them both. I do.
For those of you that have met Doc, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
For those that haven't met Doc and won't get able, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you won't be able to experience Doc Renfro because he was an awesome dude.
Yeah, he was definitely a force of nature in a lot of ways. But anyway, guys, that is our top 5 Gunsmoke. I'm going to go ahead and Chris, go ahead and go through your list 5 to 1 again and let us just name them off.
So Rio Lobo, Rio Bravo, The Shootist, McClintock, and Big Jake.
Okay. Mine was True Grit, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, Big Jake, McClintock, and The Quiet Man. Dude, thanks for being here.
Man, I enjoyed this very much. John Wayne, huge impact on my life. And I really believe that if everybody acted like John Wayne, we wouldn't have any problems.
Yeah, well, it'd be solved a lot quicker. That's for sure. Listen, I love all of you. I like some of you. Go out and make your day, people.
AMF, guys.